slow seems. All right, you could begin.
Good night, sir. Colleagues, welcome. Myself, Cheryl Eastman, and Makeda Hodlin will be presenting the final chapter, Leading Change. I am the first presenter, and I will talk about the introduction, change or perish, leading major change, leading everyday change, leading for innovation, the creative organization. And I have a quote from John P. Cotter, Leading Change. Change is often said to be impossible unless the head of the organization is an active supporter. Next slide, please. Introduction. What makes some organizations flourish while others struggle to keep up? The answer often lies in how they handle change. This chapter explores how leaders facilitate creativity, innovation, and change. We first look briefly at the need for change in today's organization and examine its step-by-step model for leading change. We will also explore everyday change strategies and examine how leaders facilitate innovation by fostering creative people and organization. The final chapter, presented by my colleague, Ms. Hodlin, will touch on why people resist change and how leaders can overcome the resistance and help people cope with the potentially negative consequences of change. Next slide, please. So, change or perish. If organizations want to survive, they have to change. If they don't change, they're going to perish. It's simple as that. Next slide, please. So why change matters? Organization must adapt or perish. Constant change is part of survival. And pressure from globalization, technical, social expectation, and competition demands fresh approach to leaders and operations. Leaders must help employees overcome resistance. Leaders must embrace new ways to working and drive the motivation and creativity needed for organizations to thrive in a consistently shifting environment. Next slide, please. Understanding organization change. Definition. Organization change means moving from the current state to the desired future state to improve efficiency. And there are two types of changes, transformational or major changes. This involves redesigning structures, strategies, and cultures. And then there is incremental everyday changes. That is small improvement made regularly by individual or teams. Excuse, excuse me. On the other hand, incremental changes of every consists of small continuous improvement that are made regularly by leaders, and it helps the organization to stay agile, improve efficiency, and adapt gradually to internal and external pressure. Next slide, please. Understanding the leader as a change agent. A change leader influences others to adopt new ideas or behavior. A smart change leader shows vision and courage. Courage is capable of managing complexity and uncertainty, emotional intelligence, and persistence. Leaders believe in employees' capacity to assume responsibility. Leaders must recognize and learn from their own mistakes. Leaders are sensitive to people's fears and emotion. And the goal of leaders is to create readiness for change and build commitment. Next slide, please. Now we will look at Cotter's 8-stage model for leading major change. This is a short video, so we take a look at it and then we'll explain what the video is talking about. What the video is explaining is Cutter's model, how leaders can guide successful transformation. And the first stage is establish urgency. And leaders have to help others see why change is necessary. Two, form a guiding correlation. Gather a strong team of supporters. Three, create a vision and strategy. Describe what success look like. Four, communicate the vision. Share it clearly and repeatedly. Repeat it many times. Five, leaders must empower others to act, remove obstacles, and give people authority. Six, generate short-term wins.
Miss Eastman, you muted yourself.
So,
You muted yourself, so we weren't hearing
okay,
you.
so, okay, I'll start back. So, no, Cutter's model, Cutter's model, John Cutter's model, how leaders can guide successful transformation, establish urgency, help others see why change is necessary. Two, form a guiding correlation, gather a strong team of supporters. Three, create a vision and strategy. Describe what success is like. Four, communicate the vision. Share it clearly, repeat it many times. Number five, empower others to act. Remove obstacles and give people authority. Six, generate short-term wins. That is celebrating small successes early. Seven, build on the gains to keep the momentum going. Eight, anchor the new approach. Make the change stick by a part of the organization culture. And one thing to note with Cutter's model that no stage should be left out. Next slide, please. Making change stick. For change to last, it must become part of everyday values and routines. And leaders should reinforce new values through rewards and stories. Select and train new leaders who share the same vision and goal. Model the value consistently. Next slide, please. And here we have some strategy for leading everyday change. And these strategies leaders can use in the both private sector working alone or the public sector leading working with others. Next slide, please. Leading everyday change strategies continue. Note that not all changes require big transformation, and small daily actions also makes a difference. So the first strategy was creative self-expression, model the new attitudes of work-life balance. And to explain this is leaders who would normally come to work in shirt and tie, then one day you see a leader, the CEO of the company wearing casual pants and sweaters, or the leader who shifts his working hours so that he can be home by 6 p.m. This shows a quietly unsettling other expectations and routines. Influence in conversation, leaders can gently guide employees and teams discussion using the right words and right opportunities, encourage learning, inviting suggestions and feedback from the employees, alliance building, embrace support from employees who agree with the vision and from those who oppose. Work closely with others to move issues to the forefront quickly and directly than working alone. Using these characteristics, leaders can increase individual creativity by facilitating brainstorming, lateral thinking, and creative institution, which my colleague Michaela will explain in a while. Next slide, please. And there we have some leaders in the lead. Barbara Wall from Hewitt Packard. She was an agent for change, and she had a vision for her organization to be the world's best HP computer lab. She had a courage to question and challenge her senior executives and a reputation for getting things done by her commitment and from the committed help of her staff. She would help employees assume responsibility and take the steps to accomplish their own change goals, and highlighted people in her organization who are successful at producing change. Paul Wiggers of Ally Domic. He is the founder of Social Innovation. His skill set include innovation engagement, facilitation, innovation coaching, strategic planning and consulting, and more. He worked closely with others to move issues to the forefront and help employees to transform out of outdated thinking. He invited another leader who saw from another department who saw downsizing in the company as the only solution to his seminar. That same manager left with his vision for transformation. These leaders both understand how to use a quiet, subtle approach to deliver the change needed to win, and that is the four strategies that we talked about. Next slide, please. Leader self-insight. Self-awareness helps leaders grow into effective change agents. It is a fundamental quality for successful leaders, and it involves understanding one's own emotions, strengths, weakness, values, and their impact on others. So I want us to take 5 seconds and reflect on these questions. Do I take the initiative to make things better and work on home? How do I handle resistance? Do I celebrate small wins and keep morale high? So let's take 5 minutes and think about these questions. All right, next slide, please. We have a discussion question. Think of a change at work or school. What habits succeed or fail? Or which of Cotter's 8 steps were used or left out? Is anyone here in the group would like to answer any one of these questions? The floor is open. I might have to call names if nobody answer.
Hi, this is Victoria. So I just wanted to contribute what helped with the success with work and us succeeding with the implementation of a software. Now, in our department, we were operating without a software to help our workflows, right? And with the implementation of the software, we had to raise the awareness levels of using the software. So we had training, in-house training, and it was also self-paced. Now, we had to go through a series of training as well in terms of understanding metadata because not everyone understood what is metadata. And in order for a company to go paperless, these are some of the things that you have to understand: metadata, headings, subtopics, keywords, because those things are what drives users to access what they want. And it takes the department, not just one person, building the metadata behind the scenes so that we can always serve our clients. And that change of introducing technology into our workflow took a different mindset. And we are still going through that change aspect, but I see the difference in the staff in terms of they're excited to use technology. They're excited that some of the workflows are now automatic, are becoming up automatic. So instead of them being intimidated by it, I see how the change management techniques helped bring this about. So I think it's important to always create that vision and strategy of where the company is heading. And you always have to remind them that we are we serve in the organization in the best way possible. And I've seen them become more engaged. We have more brainstorming sessions as opposed to meetings. So the difference between the meetings, in meeting might be a more formal aspect, and the brainstorming sessions is where it's not so formal, where persons are engaged, ideas come forward, and we discuss about it. So if they see new ways in which we can enhance our workflow, we bring it to the table and we discuss it. If it logically makes sense, we implement it. And it helped.
That was excellent, Victoria. Anybody else have any contribution that you'd like to mention? Hmm? Okay, then let's go on to the next slide. Thank you, Victoria. So we go on leading for innovation. So what is innovation? Innovation is one of the best ways for leaders to facilitate continuous change, to generate ideas, to keep pace with technology and competitive competition in the workplace. For innovation to be successful, we must create an environment that nourishes creativity and in every particular department. They must adopt structures and systems that promote innovation. And that could be, for an example, change in policies and procedures. Allow employees to come up with new ideas to solve problems, to respond to opportunities, and allow employees to share ideas across departments. Effective leaders find ways to promote creativity in their department when it is most needed. And one of the most important tasks of leaders is to harness the creative energy of all employees to spur innovation by using the 5 elements I spoke earlier about, which are the creative values, unofficial activities, diverse stimuli, and within company communication. Next slide, please. The leading for creative organizations. Leader must foster creative culture. They must communicate the purpose. Leaders must communicate vision and goal clearly to employees. They both must be committed and believe in what they do. This is alignment with employees and the leaders. Creative values drive value. Creative values drive, encourage an entrepreneurial spirit to carry out creative process, finding new ways to succeed. Unofficial activities. Leadership companies and organizations should give employees time off to explore ideas outside of the workplace or office. Diverse pyramid. Rotate people into different jobs. Allow them time off to participate in volunteer activities. Go back to this, Michaela. Michaela, go back to the slide 17. Right. Diverse team will move people into different jobs, allow them time off to participate in volunteer activities, work with customers, suppliers, and others outside the industry. Bring bring outside speakers to open up employees to new ideas. And within communication, encourage people to communicate across boundaries. Employees from interdisciplinary network to work side by side in innovative programs. And finally, leaders must have a love for people. Next slide, please. And we have a discussion question again. Can anyone here name a local company that embraced innovation and creativity? Anyone can think of a local company that embraced innovation and creativity?
Nestle. They
Yes.
have different types of milk with the vanilla flavored, the chocolate flavored, and different types of products as well. Milk related and not milk related.
What about KFC is a good one?
Amplia. I would say
Yeah.
why for Amplia because Amplia is known for cable and internet and whatnot. But recently I see they started introducing security into it. And I found that was creative, although I think they were following their competitor. But sometimes keeping at the heels of our competitor helps us to grow. But I thought that was innovative and creative for them to introduce that in the package.
Yes, that was excellent. Excellent, Candice and Victoria. Anybody else? Okay, next slide, please. And here we have another leader in the lead. His name is Hong Lee Samsung of Samsung Electronics. He transformed Samsung Electronics into a hotbed of innovation and creativity. He changed Samsung from a failing company to one of the world's most valuable electronic brands by stimulating what he called idea incubators, where innovative ideas throughout Samsung can be developed. And that ends my part of Melissa's question, and I pass you on to my colleague Michaela to continue the final stage.
Hi, good night, everyone. Good night. I would present the second part of the presentation where I would talk about leading creative people, implementing change, tools for implementation, the two phases of change, and leading and downsizing. John P. Cut- John P. Cotter said, effective leaders help others to understand the necessity of change and to accept a common vision of the desired outcome. So we'll start with leading creative people. Leading creative change often involves fostering an environment where employees can feel comfortable to express themselves. This encourages innovation as a norm and increases individual creativity. Some male leaders foster ideas of brainstorming, lateral thinking, and creative intuition. As Victoria said when she was giving an example earlier, she spoke about instead of having meeting, they started to brainstorm instead, and this caused some great ideas coming out from her company. So brainstorming, according to Daft, is a technique that uses face-to-face interactive groups to spontaneously suggest a broad range of creative ideas to resolve a problem. To ensure effective brainstorming, there should be no criticism. No idea or person should be criticized. All ideas should be considered, appreciated, and valued. Freewheeling. People should be able to freely express any idea, regardless of how uncanny it may seem, because it may be beneficial. Quantity desired. The aim of brainstorming is to generate a large quantity of ideas with the expectation of finding a suitable solution. Lateral thinking. This involves thinking outside the box. It's not the traditional step by step approach, but looking at a situation from new creative perspective of all sides. A checklist was introduced to help stimulate lateral thinking. These verbs were used to encourage ideas. So the Alex Osborne created a checklist. He used verbs like put to other use, new ways we can use a product or services, adapt. What else is like this? What other ideas does this suggest? Modify. Should we change the meaning, change the color? Magnify. What should we add to this service or product? Minify. What to subtract or take away? Substitute. Who else instead? What else instead? Other places, other time, rearrange, other layout, change of pace, reverse, transpose, positive and negative. How about opposite? Combine. How about blend? Combining two units, combining a purpose. And that was the goal of lateral thinking, is looking at stuff from other directions, different views in order to generate ideas. And then we move on to creative intuition. The first stage of generating creative ideas is data gathering. The second stage is creativity. Creative intuition is a gut feeling. It's the instinctive insight that guides the creative process. For example, you're in the bathroom and you're brainstorming an idea for a market campaign, and suddenly you think, what if I told this story from the customer's perspective rather than the company or brand? The idea just came. Creative Creativity often occurs when your brain is on a mental pause. Now we'll go into implementing change. Leaders view innovation, change, and creativity as an opportunity to grow and improve their organization, whereas others may consider this pointless and tedious. Leading people to change requires understanding that resistance to change is natural. Leaders ask themselves why employees resist change. The main reason for resistance of change is personal compact. Personal compact is the reciprocal obligation and commitment that defines the relationship between employees and the organization. When change is implemented, it shifts the dynamic of personal compact, which results in employees resisting change. Personal compact include job task, performance evaluation, evaluation procedures, and compensation packages. Then move on to a theory called the dead horse theory. Ancient wisdom says that when you discover a dead horse, the best strategy is to dismount. This is a metaphor used in business and management to describe situations where organizations continue to invest in failing projects, strategies, or ideas despite clear evidence that they are not working. The dead horse represents the resistance to change. To overcome the dead horse is to embrace change. Tools for implementing change. Change is a process. Leaders can achieve a successful transformation or change by implementing the Cotter's 8 models, as my colleague Ms. Eastman discussed earlier. However, by also placing themselves in a position of equality with employees by connecting on an emotional level can play an integral part. Storytelling, humor, Symbolization and a personal touch can help encourage persuasion of change to employees. Leaders anticipate and understand the underlying causes of resistance to change. The use of these strategies can assist with the transition to change. Communication and training. Effective communication is the foundation of any successful change initiative. It is said to be the most effective way to overcome resistance to change. It reduces uncertainty, gives people a sense of control, and clarifies the benefits of the change and builds trust. Participation and involvement. This is involving employees in decisions for change. This fosters relationship between employees and management. Coercion. Even though this approach is not advised, sometimes it may be the only option. To overcome resistance, you may have to threaten employees for them to become aligned. So, for example, I have a family member who work at Unicoma. So, under the Unicoma umbrella, they work at Courts. They recently implemented a system where you complete transaction on a platform called DocuSign. So to avoid the hassle of having to come in and maybe go through a lengthy process, the documents can now be sent to you online via email. You can fill out the form and send it back to them. So before launching this initiative, they had a group meeting with all the stores and employees explaining this concept and asking for recommendation before it was launched. This is participation and involvement. By involving employees and hearing feedback, they allowed employees to feel included in the decision-making process. Now, DocuSign is launched and is frequently and widely used by the company. Did anyone here recently experience any change in an organization, a course, or group? And what strategy did they use to implement this change? So as course implemented DocuSign, did any in a group project, or it could be even like a police youth club or anything, did anyone experience any change in implemented recently? No? Okay, then I'll move on to the other slide. Raytheon missile system. So Raytheon missile system is something that happened that proves that change does not always have to have a negative effects, and even though that it may seem difficult or tedious, it will pay off at the end. So in the early 2000s, in Raytheon missile system, there was a huge merger of four different companies into one. Employees were from different geographical areas, used different processes, methods, and tools, held different corporate culture values and norms, and even used different words for the same products or technology. However, despite the odds, they set up three off-site workshops that involve people from all parts of the organization and assigned subgroups to tackle the issue of describing steps needed to achieve manufacturing excellence. With facilitation from core team members, the employee group developed descriptions that were parallel to those originally developed by the change team, but which were also richer and more detailed. So by doing this, the company went on to win the Shingo Prize for Excellence in Manufacturing. And this was on their first attempt. Over the years, if you look at the presentation, you would see that they won various awards. So they were the most admired companies, best managed company, and board of the year. This just goes to show that change doesn't always have to be something negative. If you put in the work and you can apply, you can see how it could be successful to yourself and a company. So then we move on to the two faces of change. Like a coin, change has two sides. Change is said to be one of the greatest challenges for leaders. Even though change may lead to opportunities for growth or improvement, sometimes the reaction can be fear or resistance. Here we have a few positive and negative effects of change. So for the positive effects, it can be exhilarating and fun. It brings new experiences, new projects, and working with different people can allow you to gain new experiences and new ideas and even gain knowledge. Introduction to new technology. The previous story of Raytheon missile system. Change is what led this company to win an award for excellence in manufacturing and even go on to create some spectacular technology. Organizations progress, which is self-explanatory. It's simply the benefit of overcoming change, that is moving forward and achieving set goals. Some of the negative effects is decreasing morals. This is the lack of enthusiasm or state of dissatisfaction in the company. This diminished trust. Employees may no longer have confidence in the leaders due to lack of transparency or poor communication. High level of stress. Due to upskilling or reskilling or even the possibility of job losses, employees may become stressed because of uncertainty in the organization. And then we have downsizing. So leadership and downsizing. Downsizing is reducing the size of a company workforce. Apart from downsizing, mergers and acquisition, outsourcing, and global competition had led to job reduction. Job reduction can lead to increased conflict, stress, and one of the main occurrence with change, resistance. As a leader, you must implement effective solutions for these transitions. Some ways a leader can control downsizing is by being open and honest with employees, involving employees in change, offer incentive packages, offer alternative work arrangements, and providing assistance to displaced employees. The key to downsizing as a leader is transparency. Along with the difficulties leaders face with displaced employees, there is also the emotions we may consist of confusion, anger, and guilt, as well as the remaining employees who may be affected by these changes. Sometimes downsizing is inevitable. However, if handled effectively, it may not cause major turbulence in the organization, but allow the remaining employees to become committed to a better future. This brings us to the end of this chapter. Change is essential for growth and survival. Effective leaders must guide both major and small scale changes by communicating the vision and goal clearly. They can follow Cutter's 8-step model to manage transformation successfully and anchor the change they want in their organization culture. Furthermore, change is not something to fear. It's growth, progress, and opportunity. Every successful organization evolves by embracing new ideas and adapting to the world around it. Change should be seen as a chance to innovate and improve, rather than disruptive or tedious. Remember, great leaders do not fear change, they lead with integrity and purpose. Thank you guys for listening and also for giving your opinion on our topic. I hope this lecture was informative. Thank you.